Donald Trump supporters earlier today booed Mike Pence as he tried to give a speech at a conservative Christian conference. They booed him, they heckled him, they called him a traitor. Let's watch the clip and then come back and break down what it means.
It is great to be back with so many patriots dedicated to faith and freedom and the road to the majority. And I want to thank my friend Ralph Reed for those overly generous words. I'm deeply humbled by them. Ralph Reed knows me well enough to know the introduction I prefer is a little bit shorter. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order, and I am honored to stand before you today.
And so you can see there, they're pretty harsh with him. They don't let him speak. They're interrupting him throughout. They're calling him a traitor. And this shows a few key things. One, it demonstrates that Donald Trump retains an iron grasp on not just the Republican Party, but on any group that's conservative in nature. This isn't strictly a Republican event. It's a faith and freedom conference. But even here, Trumpers dominate the room. Everyone else is either silent or is joining in to heckle Mike Pence. And it shows that anybody who isn't seen as 100% in the bag for Trump is an enemy of the state, an enemy of the Republican Party, etc., etc. And it also shows again that Mike Pence has been booted out of the club very unceremoniously. Remember this guy. He picked Donald Trump as VP. You might say it's the other way around, but it was at a time where a lot of people didn't think Trump could win, and a lot of people didn't want to be his VP and take an embarrassing loss. And Mike Pence, I don't like the guy, and we're going to trash him in a little bit, but he took a risk on Trump, and it paid off for Trump and for him. He was always loyal. Mike Pence never had any big scandals. He was a good VP in the very technical definition. And just because he wouldn't launch a coup, and just because he wouldn't spit directly on democracy and the Constitution, he is literally seen as the greatest enemy to Donald Trump. And remember, some of those people in the room, it wouldn't surprise me if some of those people in the room were also thugs at the Capitol on January 6th, and they tried to murder Mike Pence. Literally, guys, they tried to kill that dude because he wouldn't do a thing that he actually wasn't even able to do. They wanted him to use some power he didn't have. And because he wouldn't, they literally tried to take his life. Don't feel bad for Mike Pence, though. That's one thing here. People see people like Mike Pence get booed, and they're like, oh God, I feel bad for this dude. That's pretty hard to watch. And I get that on a human level, the urge to feel bad for people and to empathize with people. But here's the thing. Mike Pence stood by while Donald Trump did evil. Mike Pence stood by while Donald Trump let hundreds of thousands of people perish to COVID. Mike Pence stood by while Donald Trump lied about the election results for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And certainly, Mike Pence never took a strong enough stand condemning Donald Trump on and after January 6th, a day again when they tried to murder him. And so he's trying to have it both ways. He is never actually going to publicly criticize Donald Trump and his anti-democratic thugs, and he's just going to sit there and take it, not because he has this grand belief system, but because he's desperate for power. And he thinks to himself, if I take this abuse from the Trump base, eventually they're going to let me back in. It's not only delusional, but it's cowardly. So don't feel bad for Mike Pence. But if you want to give people a piece of evidence that Donald Trump remains the biggest news story, at least when covering conservatives, show them this. Anyone that didn't support his thuggish coup is seen as an enemy now. That's how you know it's a fascist party.